So let's take a look at a couple of images that have already been processed, but we're going to look at them just because we didn't do lens corrections before we processed them. Now, in your workflow, you can choose to do it before or after, but I really recommend you at least do it before you do your straightening, or which is when you fix your uprights for keystoning. And also, you can go in and do it. I highly recommend you do it before you do your cropping. So let's go ahead and head over here, and we will find lens corrections. Now, this lens here was not found originally automatically, so I had to go in and click and choose it from the Nikon drop-down list. And since this was a 35 f2, the closest thing in here is the 35 1.8. So that's what I've chosen, and it corrects just a smidge of correction. If I still feel that it has not enough distortion fixed, I can turn off this little checkbox and see if it does anything different. That doesn't do anything. So now I'll go in and I will crank this over. Probably take it too far. Let it think about it for a minute as it tweaks it in. And then if I press it, I can see it undone and redone. And redone. So that's the distortion correction, there. Also, there's this thing in here called chromatic aberration, which used to be a separate feature when you're inside of Lightroom. So in this instance, it's not. So what we would have to do is zoom in on the image, find an area where we see some tonal change between a highlight and a shadow, or a dark area and a light area, or dramatic color changes. And what we would do is we would zoom in there, and sometimes we would see a slight bit of a pinkish or a greenish hue through here. And if we see that, then we would just go ahead and click on chromatic aberration, and that would hopefully correct it automatically. You could also have it go in and analyze to see if it finds anything more, and it adjusts it and fine-tunes it. So that's basically how that works. Now the next image we're going to look at is this one. We'll go ahead and zoom back out. This lens here has got a lot of curvature, and it was corrected in a previous video where I showed you how to process this image, but let's go ahead and take a look at this one more time. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to go to lens corrections, and I'm going to try to find one that might work for this. So in this instance, I'm going to go in here and go to, here are some suggested lens corrections based on how it analyzed the image. And it did find a Nikon 28mm f1.8, and this was a 28 3.5, so that actually might not be a bad starting point. So I'll go ahead and choose that, and you can see almost automatically it does a nice correction, but that's because the distortion has already been slid. If I move this back, you can see even with just the lens generically by itself is fine, but with a little bit more adjustment, it actually fine-tunes it. Once again, chromatic aberration was chosen because there is a lot of issues with chromatic aberration on the edges here, and this does a really clean adjustment of those areas. Now, the last image I'm going to show you is this image here. Now, this image here has actually been done automatically by Lightroom. It actually found the correct lens, and the chromatic aberration was already applied straight to it, so it actually went ahead and did it. So that's how to apply lens corrections.